Welcome to Make a Difference with Phil Martelli. He is Phil Martelli. I am Jared Phillips. And here we are in probably the hottest part of the summer. We almost feel like we're getting back toward the start of the school year. And with that, you really start to think about how you can kind of maintain your own schedule, maybe even stay on task, if you will.
Absolutely. The task idea will permeate the show. But I think for everybody out there, your schedule, your children's schedule, your office schedule, your team schedule, I think we have to understand no is an appropriate answer. It's acceptable. So many of us, raise your hand, just say yes. And then we end up sitting down and putting pen to paper or putting on our computer, putting in our notes. And then you say, I don't have the time. Right. I think our guest today is going to talk about that. Like, how do you put your efforts in one activity? Now, I'm not saying that in today's world, anybody can just say one activity. So parents, executives, teachers, coaches, use no. The second thing is you must stay organized. When you don't know where you're going, people recognize that, they lose faith in you. So stay organized, whatever means you use. My daughter, moving 4 children around for school, after school activities, has one of these calendars on a computer screen. I think it's important that we look at it and that we also take a step back and say, I don't want to overextend I don't want them to miss an opportunity, but I don't want them to cheat an opportunity because they have to get to something else. And then I think you have to make an honest appraisal. How can you help? Whatever the activity is, help in the schoolyard at school, coach a fall baseball team, an executive asked to be on a charity board. How can you help? How can you help? And I think it's really important because we talk about it all the time. What can you learn? What can make you a little bit better person because of your engagement? So I get it. Everybody gets a little frazzled. July, it's a little slower. I'll get to that. But now, the middle of August, remember, you're the keeper of your schedule.
Is that perhaps a Martelli minute, maybe?
I'm not sure, but I think there's going to be nuggets all throughout this show that could be Martelli minutes. The Martelli minute, sponsored by Status Solutions. Got a beautiful letter from the president of Status Solutions, keeping our kids safe in school. And then Dale Carnegie has taken a real interest in our podcast. They have offerings all the time to help all of us get a little bit better in our public speaking, in our presentations. So the Martelli Minute is every morning at 6:30. There's part of your scheduling. It's 6:30. That's coming out.
On Instagram.
And it's on Instagram.
At Phil_Martelli.
There you go. Every day at 6:30. So here's the first one. I can do more is nice. It's a safe statement. I must do more is powerful. Disappointment and discouragement are a part of all successful ventures. Slow and steady brings about the change you are seeking. Do you have the courage to change whatever is necessary? This is really, to me, a big deal for young people. Work on having fun, joy with all you are doing. And often the results will be lifetime memories. Let's get a little bit more joy, particularly with our young people. Recognize that at times life will suck. Also realize that this is temporary. And the final one, moments create memories. The Martelli Minute.
Every morning, 6:30 on Instagram.
And I have a sense that our guest segment is going to create some moments that make us all smile. And therefore, I hope you have memories and that you remember to support our guest and his most upcoming venture. That's a little tease. I'm afraid that the other schools in Philadelphia are going to accuse us of becoming a Villanova pipeline or voice. You know, we've had Father Rob Hagan. We have bragged about the role of Brunson and Bridges and Pope Leo. But right up there with all of those guys is our guest today, a Villanova grad, an American Film Institute grad, screenwriter extraordinaire, and an executive producer aficionado, major award winner, a brother, a son, a dad, one of the leading Little League managers in all of Delaware County is what I've been told. And he will not accept this word, but here's what I want people to think. We're going to have a guest today who's a genius because he puts his imagination into words and now into on the screen. We are delighted, and we have tried an awful long time to connect with Brad Ingelsby. Brad, welcome.
Hey, Coach. Nice to be here. Thanks for having me on, guys.
So because I have a long history, I would like you to start with this. Mm-hmm. The role of family in your journey. And then the second part of it is going to be the role of family in your success. But would you take us through the role of family in your journey?
Yeah, God, it's such a huge part of the journey, I think, Coach. I grew up with two brothers and two sisters. We all live in the same area. Again, a few of us scattered, and we all ended up coming back to the area. But I think what was most important to me was I grew up in a basketball family, like you know, Coach. And I wasn't that good at basketball. You know, I had other interests. And to have parents who supported those interests and didn't try to steer me away from them, but gave me a belief in myself and encouraged me to go after my dream. So that's, you know, that was essential, you know, to go out to California, not really knowing anybody in the business at all, not really having any connections, to take that leap of faith. I don't know that I would have done it without support of, you know, siblings and parents. And now, as in success, I get to live at home. I get to see my family all the time. I have my own children now and a wife, and to sort of take all the lessons I learned as a kid and try to, you know, give them to my kids. It's such a big part of my life. In fact, I get to shoot the shows around here. I don't think I would go to set if we were shooting elsewhere. It's so important to me to be home, and so it's a huge part of my life. It's really essential.
So this gift, right? The gift, God-given, worked at, encouraged you. And when's the first time that you realized, you know what? And we're all modest, so we're not going to say, yeah, I had, but you have it. When's the first time you recognized it? And do you feel it was God-given? It was just extraordinary work, encouragement that you mentioned about your family?
Yeah, I think it's a combination of both. I think it's, you know, I think that you have to have something, you know, as you know, Coach, basketball, you can't teach height or quickness or the ability to, you know, shoot. Some of that stuff you can work at, but there has to be an amount of that just exists in a person. And so I think a little bit is God-given. And then a lot of it is just, as I say, sitting in the chair every single day and working at it. I don't believe in, I've never believed in waiting for inspiration to find you, or going on long walks, or taking vacations. Like, I sit in the chair every day. I work at it every single day. It's like, it's such a big part of my life, and I'm really disciplined. And I would say the first time, and this is a good time that we're chatting about it, because I actually had her on set the other day, but I had a teacher at Villanova when I was a junior. Sloan Steele was her name, and she was a screenwriting instructor at Villanova. And Villanova is not really known for their screenwriting program or movie program. So I would take those courses as electives, and I took a class with Sloan. And I'd always loved movies, but I didn't really ever imagine I could be a writer in Hollywood. And she pulled me aside one day and said, you really have a gift here. I don't know if you've ever given it a thought that you wanted to pursue it in any way. And truly, it was the first time that I really, I went home that night and thought, maybe there is something here. And it was such a beautiful gesture on her part to give me the nudge I needed. And I think we all need that sometimes. I'm sure you did that a lot as a coach too. You just saw a kid that needed some confidence, and you went over and whispered something into his ear. And it was such a meaningful gesture on her part. And it really got me thinking, maybe I don't know, maybe I could make something out of this,
Well, I'm going to take that then. I want to come back to that shooting locally, by the way, but I have to ask you, like, in your world,
yep,
are there role models? Is there somebody that Brad Ingelsby modeled, or that you would like to be?
Yeah, I mean, I certainly think there are writers that when I was kind of starting out in the business that I looked up to, or movies that I looked up to. And, I have a mentor, Brian Helgeland's a big writer. He wrote Mystic River, LA Confidential. He's a friend of mine. He's been sort of a mentor to me over the years. And then I think it was just, it was reading other people's work, Coach, that really helped me at the time. And at the time I got into it, they were just starting to publish screenplays online. So I could download the screenplays of the movies that were coming out, and I could read them and study them and sort of get a sense for how things were written. And I had a sort of a huge appetite at that time to do that. So I was reading and reading and reading, and I read a lot of plays and a lot of screenplays. And so I don't know that there's one person. I think it was just being inspired by the movies that I grew up watching, the Boogie Nights, or A Breaking Away, or A Stand By Me. Stephen King is an amazing writer, and so I think it was a lot of people, and I was very hungry to learn. I think that was a great quality I had as a writer, is I knew that I knew nothing, and I was desperate to know everything, and I was very, very driven, and I read a lot of stuff, and then obviously went to graduate school and read a lot more and studied a lot more. So I think I had a real drive to know more all the time.
I love that. Knew nothing, strive to know everything. That might have to become a Martelli minute. Is there a pressure, Brad, in shooting locally? You mentioned you would be there. I mean, you're there all the time. But
yes,
is there a pressure to shooting locally for you?
Yeah, I think there is. I mean, I think there is the pressure of, there's the pressure of getting it right, because I have to live here, and so much of my family lives in Delco. I'm right on the edge in Chester County now, in Berwyn, but so many of my relatives grew up in Delco and still live in Delco, and so I think I feel a certain responsibility, to do right by them, and also the people that I grew up knowing and have inspired, the stories in some way. So I do feel that pressure. And also the local crews who love to work on the shows, and the local businesses that give us goods or employees, or we, go to their hotels and restaurants. And I do feel a certain responsibility to keep the shows here, just because I like that people in the area get to work on the shows. It matters. I think it shows up on the screen. It's a lot cheaper to shoot elsewhere, Coach. We've actually been encouraged to go elsewhere, and we always say no. If we're going to make a show about this place, we just have to do it here. And God bless HBO. They've been a great partner in that. And I'm in the office, here we're shooting Task season 2 right now. Just right below me, they're shooting the show. So we're back here and we're doing it again.
There was a little mixture in there for this next question where I thought, how personal are the stories? Mm-hmm. Are there characters that, I remember that guy from Archbishop Carroll, or my father told me this story about a guy at O'Hara. Or are there personality traits in the characters?
Oh yeah, yeah. I think so many of the characters are inspired by real people, and so many of the conversations I think are inspired by the way I grew up, and. I always say, even though I didn't grow up with a cop in my life, or I've never been a part of a murder investigation, I knew Mare's house. I knew those conversations. I had my grandmother living with us, and I knew what that was like. And I always had priests at my house, and my uncle used to be a priest. And so there's so many. So while the plot itself is quite distant, I would say the plot isn't really anything I've lived. The inner lives of the characters and just what their homes look like, what their cars look like, and the clothes they wear, all of the details come from my own life and people I know. And I think Mark Ruffalo's character in Task was very much inspired by my Uncle Ed, who's used to be a priest and left the priesthood. Yeah, he's a wonderful guy. I was just texting with him. He's a really lovely guy, Ed.
He played in the Final Four. Both Brad's father and his uncle played on the same team in the Final Four.
Oh, that's incredible.
But just stay with me. I got him.
Oh, I know you do.
I'll give you the story. So Brad, now I'd like to get into this kind of a combination question. Mm-hmm. What's a writer's day like without a project? And then what's the methodology that gets you to Task, that gets you to Mare?
Yep.
How do you get there?
Yep. It's a great question, Coach. I think I would say, I always say to young writers, there's no right answer. If, whatever gets you to the end, the end being the last page of a script, whatever gets you there is the right way. But for me personally, and it won't work for everybody, of course, but for me, what I always start with is a character that interests me. In the case of Mare, what interested me was a woman who has to investigate crimes in a town where she was born, raised, lives now, and it makes her job incredibly hard because she has history with so many of the people in this community. And in addition to that, what was interesting, it was that she had a son who had a mental illness, and she felt that she hadn't been a good mother. And so she was and what interested me about that was I feel like we often see that in the men in stories. The father is, he works too much, he's not home as much as he wants to be, or he neglected his kids. But I found it to be very interesting to have a mother who felt as if she hadn't lived up to the image that she had of herself as a mother, and she was trying to come to terms with that in a way. And so that character interested me. Now, I had to build a story around that character. I had to give the audience a reason to watch that character and make that story or engine exciting enough to carry us through, the 7 episodes. But what really excited me was that character. And I would also say, Coach, all of her inconsistencies. And I think Mare is a very complex character. She's very nice to strangers. She's a pain in the ass at home. She's an exceptionally good cop, and she doesn't play by the rules. Like, she has a ton of inconsistencies in her life, which make her a very compelling a character to see on the screen, but also to write. So it always starts with a character, and then I have to find an excuse to tell that character's story. And for me, it was always about, I knew from the earliest iteration of Mare that it was a story about a woman that would have to go up and face the death of her son. That was literally the end of the show, was, oh, she's been avoiding this thing. She doesn't want to face the death of her son. And the last image of the story will be, oh, she's going to face the thing that really scares her most, and she's going to go up and be in the place where it happened. So,
Yes.
so that's how I start, and then the rest of it just has to come later in some way.
So, Brad, you have all these connections, right? I can't imagine the pressure on you at a family gathering where somebody's going to say, yo, who is the who did it? Like, how do you deal with that? Right?
Yeah, I know. We get a lot of that.
If I see you at Wawa, I go, yo, come on. Yo, I'm not going to tell anybody. I'm not going to tell anybody. Did you hear?
We got a lot of those. We got a ton of those. And I would always say, just keep watching. I would always say, you know what? I hope when you get to the end, you feel satisfied. That's all I'll say, is I hope when you get to the end, it'll feel like the end of a good journey and not like we cheated the audience, I always want the ending to be satisfying. It has to be surprising in a way, but also satisfying. And that to me is the most important thing. And I felt like with Mare, we came up with a very, like the audience was in a good place at the end. It was satisfying emotionally and also in terms of the plot engine,
And in Task, those last 2 episodes are absolutely positively exhausting. Is that the word you would use? Like, you're like, oh my, you mean there's another week after all this? I don't. Yeah, it's amazing to me.
Those were some big episodes. After
the 6th, I was like, what is going to happen in the 7th? And I remembered, like, oh, because this is, first off, terrific writing that everything gets wrapped up in a perfect bow like that. But Brad, the one question that I was curious about was, do you have like a dialect coach that's on there for Kate, for Mark, for these people to kind of really try and nail the regional accent? Because I'm sure you get it a lot, but I'm curious if it's just, Vinny from Delco, or is it just you?
No, it's a good question. We have Suzanne is the dialect coach, Suzanne Solby, and she's here every day, and she literally listens to every take, and she'll go up to an actor in between takes and say, well, you got to get this right, or this word you're saying wrong, and then we're so vigilant about it, though, that we even have her in the edit. So once we get all the episodes edited, we have her listen again. And if it's still not right, then we bring the actors in and they re-record the lines and they make it match. And so we really try. I think with Task, it was a bit more of a, sprawling cast and show, so there, like Ruffalo doesn't have a big accent. Like my Uncle Ed, he doesn't really have an accent. So there were certain characters that we felt like, oh, I don't believe he or she would have an accent. And then there were certain characters like Amelia Jones or Allison Oliver, who I felt like really would have a thick accent. And so we kind of identified at the beginning of a show, and then we say to Suzanne, hey, you got to stay on these people and you got to be there when they're shooting. And she's really, really great about it. And I've worked with her for years and years now. We bring her back and she gets to be here every day, which is really a great safety net that we have.
And I just have to, this is an editorial, this is not a question, but the characters, when you close your eyes, you can almost say, oh, that's Ridley. Because it is different. Like I won't admit it, but it is. Yeah. It's a different sound coming from the Episcopal Academy area.
Yep.
There is from McDade Boulevard.
Yep.
There absolutely is a different sound.
It is. Oh yes, it really is. It really. And we send her out, Coach. We send her out in the beginning of each season. And we had just, and she goes to coffee shops and bars and she sits with people, and then she accumulates all these samples, and then we listen to them, and then we say, oh, this would be Amelia's accent. And then we have Amelia get in touch with that individual who we've recorded. and we have that individual do more recordings so that the actor can study them. And we've had good luck doing that. But as you said, all of them are so scattered, and some of them are really strong, and some of them are very, very mild. And it really comes down to the actor and the character on the page and where we want to go with it. And it's a lot of fun to determine that.
So I have three more, but this one pops into my head.
Yep.
So in your world, like my world, like your brother's world, like you can celebrate these wins, and many times people are talking a bit more about the losses than the wins. In your individual world, Brad, that moment in time when Netflix said, no, we don't want to do that. How does that, as a writer, is that a gut punch?
Always. It's always hard. I mean, it happens every day on set or every project. You want to get this actor, the actor doesn't, the actor didn't respond to the material. They don't want to do it. Or, HBO gives you notes, hey, that episode wasn't very good. Or, it happens every day. And it's never easy, Coach. I mean, this has been your life longer than it's been mine. You know the feeling. But I think what I've been able to do, or what I try to do, is use it, because, when you're staring at the blank page and you get up in the morning and it's just you and your computer screen, there's nothing there. That's always daunting to me. It's never gotten easy to stare at the blank page. Like I'd love to say after 20 years doing it, it's gotten slightly easier. It never is. But those failures, really, I feel like I'm able to channel something. I'm able to use them to get me to write. Like, oh, you didn't think this was good? Well, then I'm going to show you what's good. Or that actor said the script stunk and the part wasn't good enough. Well, I'm going to make that part completely amazing, and you'll be sorry. And I do have that in me. I don't think it's a good quality, but I think, like I said, the blank page can be really daunting, and just to have something to give you a little juice to get through the next session or the next scene or the next episode, I find it to be incredibly, incredibly helpful. Maybe it's like, it's some competitive, it's the competitiveness that my father gave me, maybe.
Yeah. I agree with that. So now you're all in, like, we know you're on set, you read the articles, you're on set every day. So you're all in with the filming, the producing. Are you at this time, though, also multitasking? Like, is your next project sitting on your office desk at home?
It was, when we were doing the first season, Coach, it was, because I was doing a couple films while doing tasks, but I find it, I had a lot of trouble with that. I like to be, I didn't take it very well, if I'm being honest. I like to do one thing at a time and give it all of myself, as opposed to, well, I can be here a little bit and here a little bit and over here. I've found that I'm at my best when I'm just doing one thing. And so when we came back for Task Season 2, there were some other things I was looking at doing, and I just said, you know what, guys, I don't think I'm going to be able to do it. I have to focus just on this right now. And because if I just find, like, I can live with myself if the project isn't good and people don't watch it, or the critics say it's bad. I could live with myself if I said, well, I gave it everything I had. There wasn't every day I was there. I tried to make the scene better, but I have a hard time living with myself if it failed and I said, well, I only gave it half of myself. If I was there more, it could have been better. So I really made it a point on Task Season 2 to just be present and just be doing task. And I found that to be a huge relief. I can say that.
I wish we could take this upstairs and show you the office, and I have a file on this and a file on that, and I start on one file.
Yep.
I just had a conversation with my sons as coaches. I said, do you guys keep a log for these 35 minutes? I'm going to work on this, and then I'm going to switch to that. Then I'm going to switch to that, because I'll grab something will pop in my head, and now I have another folder And he's going, and I'll say, I didn't get anything done. But yet, if I have the pressure of I have to prepare for a TV game, I'm going to watch these 3 games.
Yep.
If that means get up at 5 o'clock, and then I get up.
Yeah.
And but I know that this is what I'm going to get done. And
Yes.
I do feel this sense of completion, if that's the right. Like, okay,
Yes.
that's done.
Yes. Yes.
Now,
Yes. Yes.
I just, when I was thinking and looking over your stuff last night, I was like, I wonder how that brain works, that you say, no, this and only this for right now.
Yes. 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 And I think it's hard because the shows, especially Task, has so many freaking characters. It's like there's so many things going on. It's like, especially this season, I'm like, oh my God, I'm tracking like 15 people and their journeys. And it's just, I mean, even for me, I've been doing it a long time. There are days where I wake up or someone comes up to me on set and goes, what is that character wearing? And I'm like, I don't even remember. I don't even remember writing that scene now, so it is hard to keep track of it all. But I will say, and I'm sure you can appreciate this, Coach, that one of the things I found to be really helpful is just to bring the same people back, to have a real shorthand and be able to say, like our production designer, Keith, we've done so many projects together now, our costume designer, Megan. So there, I can cut through some of that because Megan knows what I want, and she's so freaking good. She'll get it right every time, even if I'm not consulted. And Keith knows exactly. So having those people back, for every project has been incredibly, incredibly helpful.
And because of your values, recognizing that these people are working with you,
yes,
for you,
yes,
for you, is monumental.
That's a great point. That's a great point.
You were raised. That's the way. That's your parents. Because I've known them since we were in high school and that kind of thing. And I'm just. This is really just tremendous. And thank you for your time. And we always end our segment on Make a Difference with this question: who's made a difference in Brad's life?
Oh God, there's so. I mean, I'll give a shout out to Sloan just because I mentioned her earlier. I'll give a shout out to my parents who continue to be such a big influence on my life and supporter. And I'm also going to give a shout out to all the people you said, Coach, because all the people who work on the show, because as you said, it's not really my show. There are so many people who, we're all playing an instrument in the symphony. There's so many people who have to bring, the best of themselves to the project every day. And I'm just incredibly grateful that I get to work with so many talented people who are also incredibly, incredibly kind. So a shout out to the crew and the cast we have on Task who bring a lot of themselves in every day. And I'm just incredibly grateful for it.
Well, Brad, I'm going to finish with one final thought, not a question. Mm-hmm. But when I was at Michigan and Mare was on, every Monday I would walk into the office and I would hit them with, yo, check my show out last night. and they would say, well, I go, no, that's where I grew up. That's where I live. And those people, I could take you back and I could find 2 or 3 people just like that. That's our show. That's our show. So thank you for allowing me to brag a little bit.
Thank you for watching, Coach. That means a lot to me.
In Ann Arbor. Brad, thanks. My best to you.
Anytime. Thanks, Coach. Lovely to meet you again, and I'll see you guys soon.
All right.
Thanks so much, Brad. Appreciate it.
All right, thanks, guys.
I'll tell you what. He's lucky. He only had about 20, 25 minutes to give us, because I would have kept him there for, I'm fresh off my watch of Task, and I had about maybe 100 questions that I could have bogged him down with, but I can't hold him up. He's trying to get season 2 shot and wrapped and everything like that. So, but incredible stuff, and just really awesome to hear his process of how you just work at it. There's a little bit of talent in there for sure, but I mean, he's someone that's just been working his entire life to craft incredible stories.
When you go on his biography and you look at, well, he was an intern and shot this, and his first one was a story about an amusement park where he actually worked at an amusement park in Ohio. And then he wrote his story, and it just kept resonating with me. A guy who was an award winner in any field. That idea, not everybody out there, we all don't get wins every single day. How do you pick yourself up? You know, I think of a guy, a dear friend, Pat Croce, and you think, well, everything he touches was gold. He told me one time, no, I failed 7 out of 10, but I dictated the narrative that the 3 wins were celebrated. The 7 were internalized. The 7 losses were internalized. So thank you to Brad Ingelsby. Wonderful family. Wonderful family. Deeply appreciative. And I know how hard you worked to make that all kind of connect. So great job by you.
I mean, their team was wonderfully accommodating. I mean, they're in the middle of shooting a season and they made time for us, which we are extremely, extremely appreciative of. I cannot imagine how busy when you're the writer and creator of a show and you wear so many hats. I was fascinated though by the fact that he himself mentioned he was doing season 1 while still working on a couple different projects, which is incredible to me because that season is just so strong and so tight and so well written. I'm like nervous about how good season 2 will be because he said I'm giving this one my all. Like that wasn't your all the first time around.
Right,
so
point.
I don't want to set the expectations too high for him or anything like that. But man, I mean, it has me really, really excited for season 2 for sure.
Yeah, but how about translating that to our coaching corner, where he says, "This is what I zero in on," and I think that sometimes coaches, particularly college coaches, well, I'm going to recruit, so let me scramble to the phone and get this done. Well, meanwhile, you were supposed to be watching film, and that's how it gets to be an unraveling or a burnout. I think that there's a good message there. Be locked in. And I hate cliches, but be locked in. What's the task at hand? And take it to completion. So again, Brad coached us, and we appreciate that. Maybe even he could go into the coaching corner one time.
Everybody's a coach in one way or another, right?
No doubt. So this week's coaching corner, I have a question out there for principals of schools, CEOs, department heads. How do you run an orientation for in basketball, your new players, your new staff members? My suggestion is individual conversations to start it out. Really sit and let them know. Let them know. You have to do it in little doses, like this big, massive team meeting. No, if there's 3 new players, let the 3 new players get them little doses. Let them know the absolutes. There are no discussions about missing class. There are no discussions about late to practice. There are no discussions about selling your equipment before the end of the year. So what are the absolutes? And if the absolutes, and I'm going to be old school with you, could fill a phone book, you have too many absolutes. Your absolutes should fill an index card. And then recognize their trepidations. There is not a college freshman at any school who will not battle homesickness. There will not be a new staff member who will not question, did I do the right thing? You have to recognize those. Some cases takes a week. Some cases it's going to take a month. But be with them as the leader, be with them each step of the way. And then I have the coup de grace here. That's for all people that work with you. When you go into every year, could be a 35-year teacher, could be a 12-year assistant coach, could be a trainer. No. What's different about this? So it might only take 20 minutes, but gear yourself to an orientation for those that have been with you. It's different than a new employee orientation, but everybody needs to be reminded so that we don't get stale and just say, same old, same old. This September will be the same as last September. Or complacent, well, last September we did this and we won a championship. No, always be better. Always be better. So the coaching corner, right? Task driven, I might add.
It all comes back one way or another, right?
Has to.
I think you've had a few tasks on your plate in the last few weeks. Maybe not.
Yes. So where have I been? I'm going to try to put this in a succinct nature. Took in the Phil's game on Friday night with 17 other family members. Followed that up by a dinner at Icona.
You did get a little shout out on TV. I got a couple texts about that.
Yep, I got that. It's 50th anniversary celebration. The anniversary, people would remind me, is not till November, but this was a chance to have everybody together. So we had all 10 grandchildren, our 3 children and their spouses. We had a beautiful blessing on the altar in Avalon, and then a dinner and photographs. And it was really special. And so many people outside of family. Tracy Boyle Daly and her florist, Lisa Booth, turned me on to a cake place, UC Mita, and it just goes on and on and on and on and on. It was quite a tribute. So thank you to everybody that was involved. And then because life takes you in a certain direction, had to come home from Avalon for a funeral for Ed David, a brother-in-law, Mary Ellen, Judy's sister, her husband, who's battled health issues for about 2.5 years, and went to that funeral. And then Wednesday of this week, or Wednesday of last week, when you see this episode, Chris DeGiulia's celebration was beyond description. You almost have to watch the video to understand everything that was going on, including starting the funeral mass with the national anthem. And in the 7th inning stretch of the funeral mass, God Bless America, the people wearing jerseys that honored every one of the Chris's teams, followed by a luncheon that had 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, and then his brothers and sisters, 13 speakers that had a shot clock. They had a shot clock up there, 2 minutes, and you got whistled off.
It's pretty efficient.
Pretty efficient. Spectacular job by Drexelbrook on the food and the room and the setting. And let's just say that one of the speakers bought 2 minutes from another speaker who was a reluctant public speaker, and the speaker who bought the 2 minutes was not that reluctant.
I was gonna say, they probably tried to go over?
A couple went over, but mine was legit because I bought the 2 minutes from the other guy, from my man Butchie. And the stories were legendary. The laughs were loud, and a true celebration of Chris DeJulia, who sat beside you during your remarks. His wheelchair was there with a what do they call those? A big head or what?
Cardboard cutout.
Cardboard cutout with his Phil's hat. And Chris, you gave more than you took. And as I said at the last time, thank you, my friend. We got you from here.
It's an incredibly lovely tribute to Chris.
And now I guess you wonder, where will I go?
Sure, you got something going on,
So
right?
it's come up. It's here. Phil Martelli Basketball Academy. And if I had the calendar in front, we're going to start on a Saturday. Sunday, Monday, Tuesday are going to be repeated days, starting at 7 a.m., early bird special on the court, then some station work, then some 4-on-4, then some lunch. Then we're going to come back and do some brief lectures, 5-on-5. But while half the camp is playing 5-on-5, the other half is reading. No messing around. It's an academy. 3-on-3 before dinner. Dinner. Post-dinner shooting drills. 5-on-5. And then how about this? At the end of the night, pick up basketball. Explain to these young players how to pick teams, how to call your own fouls, how to respect the other man's call, and winners. How do you play winners? Simultaneous, or some might say multitasking. The academies are ready and up and running. And I would like to have that. We'll put it out on social media. But we're starting September 17th at Archbishop Wood, September 19th at Monsignor Bonner. We go the 24th. The 27th is at Shawnee in New Jersey. Then we go October 1, October 4, and we run through October 25th. But those first two, Archbishop Wood for Montgomery County, Monsignor Bonner. We're going to Conshohocken at the Fellowship House. We're going to Sleazy Adam in Delaware. So we're taking the coaching academy and going like this. And I hope that every youth coach can take advantage of this. The price is minimal. Groups, you get a really great break. But this was late being unrolled last year, but now we're ahead of the game and anxious. Along with my high school coaching coordinator, Mike Doyle, the Philadelphia Coaching Academy. So I'll be working on that while I'm away in the Poconos.
A lot of great stuff down the pipeline for you.
And the answer is yes, because I know what you're going to ask. Will I still be watching every pitch? And am I a wreck?
I wasn't even going to ask. I knew the answer.
The answer is yes. And I don't know what the secret sauce is. Is it just the two horses, Sanchez and Wheeler, since July 1, their ERA is over 4. I think it's over 4.5. And we don't have enough thunder in the bats. But I will say this, 40 games left. The anxiousness of checking scores and our scores and opponent scores to see where we're going to fit, still think make the playoffs will be more challenging than advancing in the playoffs because of the pitching in a short series. So I'm still going to say it. Go Phils. But
Go
I'm
Phils.
worried.
They got their hands full. They got their hands full for sure. We do want to thank Brad Ingelsby for coming on the show. That was a real treat. We've been working on that for a long time, and for him to make the time for us, it's such a busy time right now for him, was greatly appreciated. And man, we cannot wait for season 2 of Task. That is for sure. If you were looking to help Phil make a difference, head on over to pnjmakeadifference.com. That's where you can tell Phil your story on how you can make a difference in the classroom, in the workplace, or on or off the court. We are at Make a Difference Pod on Instagram, TikTok, and YouTube, at Make a Diff Pod on X. Make a Difference with Phil Martelli on Facebook. If you're watching on YouTube, feel free to like and subscribe. If you are listening on Spotify, Apple, wherever you get your podcasts, we'd really appreciate that 5-star rating. And if you're looking for that Martelli Minute, it is every morning, 6:30 a.m. on Instagram, at Phil_Martelli. And Phil, we got to leave with one last one. We're going to need one for this wild card.
Well, we have to hold up. We have to just throw a little breadcrumb out there. Next week, guest, integral part of a World Series championship team. In fact, may have sent home the winning run as the third base coach. You can't get any more involved than that.
It's a good tease right there.
Good tease.
Leave it with one last.
Go Phils.
Go Phils.